Welcome to Mick and the Phatman talking music, life and everything from the 60s through to the noughties. Well, welcome everybody to Mick and the Phatman, episode number 21. We are talking life, music and everything, and are coming to you live from the Red Sands Hotel in the shadow of Ayers Rock, or as we call it now, Uluru, in the middle of Australia. That's right, folks, we've packed up the Hynde to the hilt and we are touring the outback. We've shacked up in the two-man tent together and have wandered over to the hotel to have a couple of brews and record this in the back bar. G'day, Mick. How you doing, mate?
Mate, I'm doing fantastically. And here in South Australia, it's just wonderful to be drinking a medley of West End and Foster's.
Fantastic stuff, isn't it? As you may well know, the village here consists of 4 beautifully appointed hotels. There's the servo, there's a couple of homes, there's an equipment shed for the rangers and the staff, and as I said, these 4 beautiful hotels. The Ayers Rock Chalet, the Red Sands Hotel, the Inland Hotel and the Uluru Hotel, and they're all beautiful. We've only checked out the Red Sands so far, but we're looking forward to having a beer in every one of them over the next couple of days. The road was all gravel from Alice Springs as we turned off the Stewart Highway, and so it's been a bit of a dusty old trip, so these beers are going down beautiful. I think the two-man tent's working out well. We are using a very, very special carbon capture and storage technology to sequestrate the methane emissions that we're producing overnight. We're working in partnership with Santos, who've just secured $15 million grant from the Australian Government Carbon Capture Use and Storage Development Fund that our government's put in place. So I think it's working out beautifully. Mick, what do you say to the naysayers who really poo-poo this technology?
Mate, I just cannot understand it. How dare they think that a politician would lie to us?
It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And this carbon capture and storage is working beautifully all over the world. I've seen them in Canada, the US, and now in Australia. It can only be uphill from here for us capturing all the carbon in the world, carbon dioxide in the world. It's going to be fantastic. And look, I don't know about you, but do you feel that the pipe that I'm sticking up your date overnight is too intrusive?
Got to capture that methane, mate.
There's a lot of it, and we're getting a lot of it. I'm putting it into bottles. I'm changing the bottles 3 overnight, and we're going to be popping into Moomba on the way back down to get this stored in the into the project. So, look, it's really working well. I'm pretty happy with where we're going. Anyway, let's move on. Mick, what have you been listening to this week?
Mate, I've got a lot that I've been listening to this week. It's been an interesting week focused around Bob Dylan.
Really?
Yeah. You might recall a couple of episodes ago I mentioned the Mr. Mercedes soundtrack. Mercedes.
Yes.
On cable TV has some great music, and it really does. And the 3rd series has just dropped, and what they've done is they've got a song by a prominent artist as the theme song for that series.
Oh, okay.
And I've been trying to work out like crazy. I try not to automatically jump to Google. I try to work things out first.
Oh, yeah, because you're a smart fella.
Absolutely. But I haven't been able to work out who did the theme song for the start of it. And it turns out it's a song called Series of Dreams by Bob Dylan from back in the 80s, which, for my money, was one of his jackpot eras, around Desire and Blood on the Tracks. Wonderful albums.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So this song, Series of Dreams, is just fantastic. And I've been listening to it thinking, this is obviously someone very good, but I can't place who it is. Because even his singing style is slightly different from his normal nasal droning.
Well, in fact, it may have been a period of his time when he could actually sing.
Well, certainly, I'm sure he looks back on that time with fondness. And at the same time, I heard yesterday Chrissie Hynde singing from an album that's got a few years on it now, the 30th anniversary concert celebration for Bob Dylan.
Okay.
Singing I Shall Be Released.
All right, just hold on a second. I've got a little bit of it now for you.
Say everything can be replaced. Every distance is not near.
Look, and since we're talking about songs and things, back in one of our early episodes we talked about the song "Walk on the Wild Side" by Reid, and how it's got a savoury content, of transvestism, drug use, sexual perversion, all sorts of really good stuff.
It's wholesome. It's a wholesome album.
It's a wholesome album. We talked about how ad agencies love to use that tune because they think Walk on the Wild Side. You listen to that song and that's something wild. So I've been listening to, or been watching on the television. Yeah, maybe you might think all I do is watch TV, but
It does seem like
it seems like it at the moment. And a B&B company has been using popular songs to advertise the fact that when you go to one of their houses or one of their B&B properties, you get the experiences of that house. And they showed they've got a farm, and they played Thank God I'm a Country Boy by John Denver, and that's the sort of thing they've got. And then they showed this house and they played Walk on the Wild Side.
God, what's going on in there?
And I'm just wondering, how on earth do you book this? I'll have that place, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Got some serious shit going on in that joint in there.
It certainly sounds like it's something you could tell your grandkids.
You'll have to pay and pay, though, I'm pretty sure, mate.
I would think so. Everybody has to pay and pay, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, I've been listening to the latest Carlos Santana album called Blessings and Miracles. I actually heard an interview with him the other day on the radio, and he's seriously into blessings and miracles. It's quite interesting. He's right into angels and all sorts of shit. So he was in Las Vegas. Don't know what he was doing there, having fun. But on this album is something that really blew me away, which was a version of Whiter Shade of Pale. And and singing away there is that good old rock legend Stevie Winwood. And I'm thinking, Stevie's got to be getting on a bit, doesn't he? And indeed he is. He's 73. And lo and behold, he can still sing, which I thought was amazing. If you're into Carlos Santana, you'll love it. If you're not into Carlos Santana, you'll hate it. So don't get too bogged down because, it's either a love or a hate thing. It's a good album, and you'd be surprised to know that it actually sounds a lot like Carlos Santana. So I'll just see if I can get a bit of this going.
We skipped the light fandango. The God was across the floor. I was feeling kinda seasick.
As you can see, actually does sound quite good. It doesn't sound like a 73-year-old. And I think if you've listened to people like McCartney and those sorts of people nowadays and Bob Dylan, their voice is a bit shot, but he's hanging in there pretty well. So have a listen to Blessings and Miracles. There's some good stuff on there. There's a couple of songs which he's nicked off his kids and popped on there, and he adds a little bit of guitar to them. So, yeah, quite an enjoyable album, as I say, if you're into Santana. If you're not in Santana, don't bother. All right, so let's move on, Mick. I've been looking at that Globite school bag sitting over there, and it seems to be rattling all by its little lonesome. Let's have a look inside. What's in it, Mick?
Mate, this week's Globite school bag, safety pins, torn shirts,
Sure.
and spiky hair. Jumping out of the edges, it's the Sex Pistols.
Oh, God almighty, no wonder it was bouncing around on the table there.
And spitting and hating everybody.
There is. There's spitting, there's urine, there's everything. There's bodily fluids up galore.
Well, indeed. The highlight of 76.
Run us through it, mate. What are we talking? Are we talking about the band, the album, or everything?
Well, I think we can talk a little bit about the context of the Sex Pistols, but mainly the band. They're as far as albums go, they had one album, came out like a supernova, blasted the rock industry to smithereens, and things were never the same again.
They weren't. Let's have a bit of a look at the top 40. I've chosen 1977, which is oddly enough the year that Mind the Bollocks came out, and oddly enough, in 1977, the Sex Pistols do not appear in the top 40 of the Australian music.
Hard to see why.
Hard to see why, indeed. But I'll just go through a couple of these singles, and I think you'll get a bit of a feeling as to perhaps why the Sex Pistols existed and what was some of the driving forces. because we kick off 1977 with the number one single of the year being "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," followed by "The Way You Do It" by Pussyfoot, followed by "I Just Want to Be Your Everything" by Andy Gibb. That's Rock and Roll, Sean Cassidy. Living Next Door to Alice by Smokey. I Go to Rio by Peter Allen. Torn Between Two Lovers, Mary McGregor. Walk Right In, Dr. Hook.
There's no real wonder at all why the Sex Pistols were so angry.
You're leaving me. You're moving out today. Carol Bayer, Sega. Gee, she went on to places, didn't she? And If You Leave Me Now by Chicago. Great band, Chicago. Certainly not one of their best songs. So that's the top 10. They're just shit. They're utter shit. And if England, I don't know whether England was probably doing something similar, but you can see the mediocrity of the music that's floating around in 1977. There's a few good albums there floating around. Silk Degrees by Boz Scaggs, which has got a nice bit of R&B sort of feel to it. The Eagles' Hotel California, which really, sort of set the world on fire. Supertramp, even in the quietest moments. Wings Over America. That was their live album, triple live album. Triple live albums don't go near triple live albums. They're a perfectly good album turned into a triple album. And the other one I know you love, which is Works by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Oh, God. And then, of course, Carol Bayer Sager got a whole album in there. So she's done well. It's just terrible stuff. So, and Brian Ferry is there as well. So, look, 1977 is the year that created punk rock. It was obviously, probably 1976 wasn't much better either as far as that's concerned. But anyway, I think that's a good backdrop to moving along with the Sex Pistols, mate.
Yep. Okay. The Sex Pistols, one album, only one album. And I think that's really important. And when you look at their history, you can see why they only had one album. Because, and we'll talk about Johnny Rotten quite a bit this morning, also known as Mr. John Lydon. The album itself, Never Mind the Bollocks, here's the Sex Pistols, their only album, is a triumph from start to finish for anyone who likes nasty rock and roll. It's ferocious. It's full of anger. The cover is a thought-provoking image, almost like a ransom note. They were much more than a rock act. They were a performance act, if you like. They were, as I think I said a moment ago, spitting on everything that the establishment, the conservative establishment, viewed as important, because they themselves were an unstoppable cultural entity. And one of those things comes along every 10 years or so, and it does just as much in music as anything else. And the enfant terrible, which were the Sex Pistols, really, really shakes things up, and things that come after. The music industry manages to water it down a little bit, but it's never the same. And after punk and the Sex Pistols in particular, because they were the flagship of the punk revolution in the UK, really put like a blood transfusion into the music industry from the late 70s onwards. And British music for 20 years really kicked along. It had some great stuff after that period. The band themselves, the obvious one is a young, inviting chap by the name of Johnny Rotten, who's an Irish, a fellow of Irish heritage, who lived in London. And as many of the Irish who lived in London, he was angry. The Irish were treated as dirt poor second-class citizens in the UK, in the main, and they knew it. And certainly some of the stories I've heard really horrifying. Some of the way that these people were treated, and it really had nothing to do with colour. It had to do with cultural background, obviously.
Yep.
Johnny Rotten was walking down the street before that, he was named. How did he get the name Johnny Rotten? It wasn't just a name that they picked up, and you'd all know that punk bands came up with some pretty awful names for some of the people in their bands.
Indeed.
Rat Scabies out of The Damned.
That's a great name.
Isn't it great? It's not one you take home to your mother. Mum, here's my new boyfriend, Rat.
I named you Jerry.
Exactly right. Now, and Rotten was named for his rotten teeth. Again, that's another characteristic of the Irish in England around that time. Because they were dirt poor, they had terrible teeth. And that's a characteristic of Ireland as well. Teeth has not been a strong point because of a very poor diet. And if you know any Irish history at all, you can trace it back to their potato-based diet, which doesn't help your dental health.
But also they would have had poor dental services, I dare say.
Absolutely.
You know, the in general, the medical system was pretty shit all over England, really, unless you had dough.
Yeah. Well, exactly right. And as I think we've discussed in previous episodes, the UK was still struggling to get over World War II 30 years later. It really, if anything, the Germans and the Japanese won because they were doing just fine.
Yeah, they had American money in there, didn't they?
Yep. Now, Malcolm McLaren, we'll touch on Malcolm McLaren in a moment, but first saw Johnny Rotten walking up the street, or John Lydon as he was then, in a Pink Floyd T-shirt, to which he'd taken a texter and written, "I hate," above the name of Pink Floyd. And to McLaren, that was the type of visual image that he wanted for a band that was supposed to be punk and revolting against everybody and just revolting. So Rotten was in the band based on his T-shirt before it was even considered whether he could sing or write or do anything at all. Luckily, he was very intelligent. His singing style is a style all by himself, but we like Bob Dylan.
So who else was in the band?
Who else was in the band? A fellow by the name of Glen Matlock, who was on bass, who worked part-time in a shop in the East End of England. He's the one who had the real musical talent in the band. Right. The two others, Paul Cook and Steve Jones, a drummer and the lead guitarist, they were basically musicians and petty thieves. And they equipped the band with stuff stolen from venues after the bands had set up. They stole equipment apparently from a Bowie concert.
Yeah, I think I saw an interview with Steve Jones, and he was saying that they were just constantly stealing things. It was like a second profession. And when bands used to go and play there, they would or play somewhere where they close by where they lived. If they did a bit of a residency for a couple of nights, particularly the bigger bands in some of the bigger halls, they literally would just go into something like a 2,000-seat theatre on the night, just break in and just steal shit. And he said, it was really easy because there was hardly any security. In fact, there was no security. You just broke in and just stole whatever you want. So they had probably more musical equipment floating around down in their basement. I think they had like a recording room or something like that. They called it a room where they had all this equipment, and they had tons of equipment to the point where Glen Matlock, when he went to audition for them, I think had a bass guitar, which in fact wasn't a bass guitar. It was an electric guitar, which he'd bought, but it only had 4 bass strings on it. And when he went to audition, someone said, "I don't think that's a bass." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, it was like a Fender Mustang guitar. And he said, "That's a guitar. It's not a bass." And and Steve Cook, not Steve Cook, Steve Jones says, "Here, mate, take this," and gives him a Fender Precision bass. He says, "That's a bass." So on him joining the band, essentially, he said, "Give me that piece of shit, and here's a real bass. We just happen to have one. Here's one we had earlier."
Yeah.
Would you prefer the jazz or the Precision?
Yeah, very, very well equipped for a dirt poor punk band.
Well, he was saying that basically his parents were robbers as well, so he just sort of learnt the trade, and just what they did, they just stole, and they did it very well. He's assured people that he doesn't do it anymore.
I wouldn't leave him unsupervised in a room. Clearly.
Not particularly if you've got musical equipment.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, Jeff, what'd you do with the stereo?
What's all this then, mate?
Yeah. And the final member of the band, a fellow by the name of Sid Vicious. Now, Sid joined the band later, and Malcolm McLaren forced him into the band, firing Matlock in the process, which was a little bit sad because Matlock, as I said, was the musical talent for the band. Now, Sid Vicious looked the part. He was skinny, black spiky hair, leather jacket, which he wore constantly, hot or cold, open, ripped T-shirts, ripped jeans. He was an absolutely beyond the pale heroin addict, and he looked just like a totally wasted rock star, which was exactly the look that McLaren wanted.
He was into heroin when he first joined the band?
He'd been into heroin since he was 13.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was hopeless, and his mother actually got him. Thought she was doing him a favour, getting him into heroin, and supplied him.
Yeah, because she was a drug addict as well, wasn't she?
She was, yes.
In fact, when he was born, she was a drug addict.
Yeah. So he was one of these guys who never had much of a chance all the way through life. But certainly when he joined the Pistols, he wasn't tainted at all by musical talent.
That's right.
In fact, I read an article in a magazine called Ultimate Classic Rock, described Vicious as bass playing as abysmal, and it said it was, after all, his second instrument of choice, just behind the syringe.
Yeah, because he just, as you said, he couldn't play a note, and in fact, I think when he played, that's all he did play, a note or two.
Yep.
That's basically it.
Yep. So, the band had turned the sound up, and there he was in the back going boom, 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 boom. No rhythm, no influence, nothing at all really, which fit in with the ethos, supposedly, of punk rock, which is you don't need to be able to play, you just need an attitude.
Yeah. Although, look, if you are going to be a band and someone's going to come and see you, you would think you want to have a modicum of understanding of how an instrument works.
You would certainly hope so. And what's really disappointing is that whilst that was the attitude, whilst that was the way that many punk bands presented themselves, there were some who were really, really talented, who came up with some great music. And I don't leave the Sex Pistols out of that list. Just leave Sid Vicious out of that list. Yeah, people like The Damned. The Damned had some great stuff, and they actually built up a catalogue of music over their career, and they did some terrific stuff. The Buzzcocks, who were a little bit later, but also did some very clever, very witty stuff that wasn't all just straight shouting and screaming and spitting at the microphone.
Because I think Steve Jones actually had been playing for about 12 months, so he knew how to hold a chord, how to play a little bit of a solo, but as you said, Matlock was the true guy who played, who could actually play.
Yep. And
Steve Cook, I think, Paul Cook, I should say, I think he could play the drums a bit, but yeah, they weren't anything. They weren't a musical power force as far as virtuosity was concerned.
Absolutely not.
Nor did they want to be.
No, not at all. But it's really funny then that for their first and only album, which was called, which was going to be "Here's the Sex Pistols," and then we'll talk about that in a moment, where that name came from. But the album itself is, as I've said, one of the most impressive debut albums, one of the most impressive, influential albums for rock and roll, and it demonstrates some great musical features. And it was produced by Chris Thomas. Now, we've talked about Chris before,
which is interesting, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's probably the best decision that McLaren made. The rise and fall of the Sex Pistols can be laid directly at his feet for some of his good, bad, or stupid decisions.
Because I was listening to another interview, but Steve Jones was saying how they in fact got their live music producer to do the production at first, and they were in a studio. Can't remember what they were recording, but after about 20 takes, they still didn't have it. They were getting the shits, and they were going, "Fuck this! I'm going to go for all this." Anyway, they then got Chris Thomas in, and after about 3 takes, he said, "That's it, boys. Thank you." They went, "What?" He said, "We're done." And they went, "You bloody beauty."
Now we've talked about Chris Thomas before,
Yeah.
and he's a man. He's obviously a man of very versatile skills. If he can go from producing Queen, Roxy Music, and so on, through to producing the Sex Pistols, then he's a man who can cope with any situation.
You'd wear all of those as a badge of honour, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you just, indeed. And rightly so. Rightly so.
Oh, yeah.
He's been involved with some of our favourite music over the last 50 years.
Yeah, for sure.
And a very talented producer indeed. Now, the album itself, 39 minutes, 12 songs. So pure rock and roll energy fueled by anger and spite. Another wonderful quote that I've come across about the album. It's been described, and I think I said it when I said that this was one of my favourite albums. It's been described as one of the greatest, most inspiring rock records of all time. It's got 4 key songs on it. The rest of the songs are not filler to get an album done. At 39 minutes, you don't have a lot of room for filler.
No, you don't.
There's some great songs, but there's 4 key songs that were released as singles, and they're really, really good. Obviously, Holidays in the Sun.
Yep.
Now, the story with this one, what inspired this song, is that the Pistols, before they released their album, they were controversial. Conservative Britain, conservative England hated them. They couldn't play anywhere, they couldn't go anywhere because they didn't dress up for the show. That's how they dressed, safety pins and ripped clothes. And so they couldn't go to hotels. Hotels wouldn't have them. They couldn't go anywhere for holidays. People wouldn't have them. So they tried to go on a holiday in the sun, and no one would have them. So they just couldn't find a place to stay.
I think they went to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
And they were wandering around. No, they couldn't get any accommodation. Yeah. And someone who knew their album, didn't know them personally, said, "Here, you can stay at my place tonight." And they stayed the one night and then pissed off.
Well, and that's a little bit later. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because early on in the piece, they didn't have the album because they didn't have the song.
Right, right, yes.
And so eventually they went to Berlin, to have a bit of a look around that. And my idea of a holiday in the sun, and not theirs either.
But it was out of Britain. It wasn't in England.
Yes, exactly. So they weren't well known. They weren't as readily hated in Germany as they were in England. And that on top of Johnny Lydon's or existing anger and upset at society and conservative society in England at the time, really set the cake off. So he set the cake off. That's nice. That's a nice little turn of phrase, isn't it?
Well,
you can use that.
Yeah, you can use. When you got your birthday cake and you put the candles on and all the candles and the cake burns away. Is that set the cake off?
I think that's what it must be.
It's an old saying.
Yes, it's old. Yeah, Middle English.
Yeah, it comes from the 17th century.
Yeah. There's a couple of things about Holidays in the Sun, and it starts off with Rotten sneering a line that says "cheap holidays in other people's misery."
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Who wrote the songs?
Matlock wrote 6 of the 10 songs.
Is that right?
Yeah. Lydon wrote a lot of the lyrics.
Right.
And but Matlock was the talent in the band, and he got fired because he didn't look right.
Right.
Now all he had to do was get some ripped clothes, a leather jacket, and get a habit, and he would have been perfect.
I think there was a general belief also that he wasn't really into the whole thing. He wasn't really into the ethos of the band.
He was a musician.
Yeah, but he wasn't really into it. But I just saw him the other day talking. He was sort of saying, no, it wasn't really true. I wasn't against stuff, to be honest. But I think you were saying McLaren did actually have a fair bit to do with the manipulation of the band to make sure he left as well. So he got in their ears, fuck him off, and they did.
Well, again, Malcolm McLaren, we'll come back to him because there's lots to say about Malcolm McLaren, but a very manipulative individual. And manipulative managers is not unheard of in the rock and roll industry. They're a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
And he was a poster boy for that type of person. We'll do it my way or not at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So underneath the chorus of Holidays in the Sun, if you listen to it, you'll find that there's a chant, and I haven't been able to find out anyone who actually knows what they're saying in that chant. But it's very reminiscent of the Beatles going oompa oompa, stick it up your jumper.
Oh, yes.
You,
okay.
you recall that? So there's a lot of musical touch points.
And then,
They
and then
weren't-
actually,
sorry?
that after that, it goes oompa, oompa, stick it up. And then it goes, everybody get fucked, everybody get fucked, everybody get fucked.
It's the Beatles.
That's the Beatles.
Oh, good on you, boys. Yeah. So the Pistols weren't against a lot of music, although it looked very easy to say I hate Pink Floyd and Pink Floyd were heading that way anyway. They were a bit of a spent force by that stage of the game. Although I don't mind a bit of the odd Pink Floyd, and the Wall's certainly a fantastic album.
Sure.
But you can see what they were talking about: the self-indulgent, rich category of musicians who weren't looking after their fans. And the Pistols loved glam. In fact, punk came straight out of glam.
Oh, okay.
That performative thing where people dressed up and dressed like them, like their idols, went to the concerts like their idols. Sure. People did punk rock spring out of the music? Did the music spring out of punk? Did the dress spring out of punk? Is it a mere representation of people who were so poor that they had to use safety pins to hold their clothes together? Probably a bit of all of those things. But certainly the Pistols did love music, and Johnny Lydon's music in particular. He loved Neil Young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He liked a lot of things. He liked a lot of German bands. Kraftwerk is often cited as a big influence on punk, because Kraftwerk, although that trance-like German sound, it was like nothing else. And basically they did what they wanted and told the rest of the world to get stuffed. You can like it or not, as you like.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So all of the band members really liked a lot of really challenging progressive music. So it's not a let's be yobbos and play really bad music type of thing. Anarchy in the UK. I can remember the first time at Countdown, Rotten was sneering into the camera, "I'm an antichrist, I am an anarchist," which is a bit of a response to Glen Matlock saying, "But the words don't rhyme." Antichrist and anarchist. So Rotten made anarchist rhyme with antichrist.
Yeah.
And in there he's got, "I don't know what I want, but I know how to get it. I want to destroy." And then somewhere else, it tries to echo the confusion in British society at the time in the mid-70s. As I said, still dying badly from World War II. A lot of expenditure. Costs a lot to win a war.
It does.
It does indeed.
It does indeed.
Yeah. Is this the MPLA? Is this the UDA? Or is this the IRA? I thought it was the UK, or just another country with another council tenancy.
What's MPLA stand for? Sorry, I asked.
You always ask me these things. It's another one of the common terrorist groups available.
Right, okay.
At the time.
Okay, I believe you.
The guitar work is deceptively simple. So Steve Jones, despite all of his protestations, he actually did a really good job of the guitar work on the album.
I just got to say, it's the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola.
Ah, of course it is. Yes.
The Angolans.
Yeah.
Crazy Angola.
Oh, those guys, they're a laugh a minute, aren't they? Yep. So Steve, sorry, Steve. Just go off. You can talk to the MPLA later. His guitar work is deceptively simple, and probably because he was a bit hampered by talent. But maybe Chris Thomas sort of brought that around. Don't play something complex. You're not here to play a David Gilmour solo. You're here to play something blasting over a solid rhythm.
I think that would have been part of the message. Get them to play what they can play.
Yeah. And Chris Thomas, perfect for doing something like that.
Yeah.
God Save the Queen. And I mentioned...
Mind you, I think Steve Jones actually played the bass on the album as well. Sid Vicious didn't.
Oh, that's right. Sid couldn't play any damn thing.
Matlock, I think, played the bass on one song.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Matlock's position in the band was ceasing around the time of recording the album. So thanks very much, Sid. Yeah. God Save the Queen. I talked a couple of weeks ago about the staggered harmony.
Yeah.
The song was originally going to be called No Future, and it wasn't meant as initially. It wasn't written as a diatribe against the Queen. It just worked out nicely that it was. And again, Irish heritage. Thanks very much. So,
and the thing to note there is it was also came out in the Jubilee year for the Queen.
Yes, and that's part of the reason they made it God Save the Queen, made the focus on the Queen, because anything that McLaren could do to get controversy and get them on the front page of the papers, even if it was hated on the front page of the papers, happy days, that's what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I meant by the staggered harmony was the band's all going no future, so and then half a beat behind you go no future, no future, and
I was going to sing it with you, but I just don't.
No, I don't think anybody could. And God save the Queen, those tourists are money. A perfect line right in the middle of it. And at the end, one thing Rotten did hate was hippies.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in the last verse, it goes, God save the Queen, we mean it, man. Yeah. So again, in one of the top singles in the UK, despite what the conservative press and the charts tried to say otherwise, in one of the top songs, there's him saying the hippie man, in a very spiteful, ridiculing sort of way. We mean it, man.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? And there's Pretty Vacant, which is the last of the singles on the album. A solid drum intro. Again, the simple but solid, and again, I'd never really thought of it that way until we started talking about it for this program. But Chris Thomas has done a fantastic job on this album, and he really, and of course he is proud of it, but he really should be. And there's an argument in favour of, even with the most simple band, getting the best possible producer in, someone who can actually understand what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah. Good point.
Pretty Vacant, there's no point in asking, you'll get no reply. Yeah. And I've always thought that it was Rotten spray at the record company, but apparently that's not necessarily the case. That might be a part of it, but it's in general a spray at society who don't really care about things.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll always find me out to lunch. I don't pretend because I don't care. And again, that's the type of attitude that Rotten / Lydon was carrying on with.
Because when you see him interviewed, he was certainly in the I don't care kind of look, wasn't he?
Always,
deliberately.
Yeah. Slouching on chairs, never showing respect to interviewers, probably because they were idiots.
Well, most of them would have been.
Yep. And probably it's a good time to mention Bill Grundy, who was he was the architect of one of their most controversial moments on television. He was on Thames Television, and he was an interviewer, and he'd got them in the green room before they came on to the program, and plied them with alcohol. So they were half pissed by the time they came out to be filmed on London nightly television, and he encouraged them to swear, which in conservative England in the 70s was a hell of a lot. These days, someone, unless they swear at the Prime Minister, people don't care. So what? What else? But back then, that's nearly 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, we're dealing with a very conservative society, which is what they were protesting about.
Yeah.
And so the two clashed violently.
Yeah. And he's goading them along. So what did you say?
Yeah.
I said shit. Oh, I've said a naughty word.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was really very funny indeed. But a bit of a storm in a teacup, and very much related to its times.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, McLaren. Let's just talk about McLaren for a moment.
Yeah, go on.
He was an East London entrepreneur, inverted commas.
Oh, I love the term entrepreneur.
Yeah, it means all sorts of things, doesn't it? Generally means shady con man. He was very impressed with New York and the New York Dolls, and he'd had some rock involvement with the New York Dolls before the Pistols. So in terms of sort of managing them, sort of organising a tour for them, Vivienne Westwood was McLaren's girlfriend.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and McLaren ran a series of clothing shops, for trendy clothing shops in London, and Vivienne Westwood made the clothes for that shop. So that's where she started, and she made the stage costumes for the New York Dolls.
Right.
So if you're interested, people, I'd suggest that you just go search New York Dolls in Google. And just get images and just have a look at some of the gear they wore. It was very, very controversial for a very conservative USA in the early 70s. So McLaren did all of that. Steve Jones was very impressed McLaren because McLaren talks a good game, and anyone who's seen him on TV knows that he's cocksure. He's totally sure of himself.
Oh yeah.
To the point of extraordinary arrogance. I look at him and think, oh God, you're a jerk. But
I saw him on a late night show in the US, and clearly the interviewer had no fucking idea how the Sex Pistols got formed, and so McLaren just slung this thing going, well, I invited them all. I saw these boys wandering around, and I thought I'll invite them to my shop where I auditioned them, and I turned them into the band. You think, and this included Sid Vicious at the time. So he found all the 4 people, brought them together in his shop, and he created the band. I thought, gee, that's just a blatant lie. And the person who was interviewing didn't have a clue, went, oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Well, how on earth would Conan O'Brien know anything about underground bands in the UK?
Just accept it. He's a genius. He's a marvellous fella, you know.
Yeah. He's a bit of a twat.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that Bernie Rhodes, who was the Svengali behind The Clash, which were a much they had a lot more longevity than the Pistols,
sure.
but they're from around the same time. Bernie Rhodes was initially interested in the Pistols because he was a business associate of McLaren.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
so it's all intertwined, isn't it?
It's all, it's all
but
history.
But Steve Jones wanted McLaren.
Because they've been him and Cookie been hanging around the shop for quite a while.
They had indeed, yes.
And so obviously thought McLaren was reasonably intelligent. He probably is intelligent, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Given it, but he also could be just like street smart, you know.
And that's exactly what comes across.
Yeah, street smart, knows how to get his own way. Is all about just being able to manipulate things for himself. You know, it's all about me, not about anybody else. Yep. But anyway, he's not the Lone Ranger there, is he?
And street smart's great.
Sure.
As far as it goes.
Yeah.
But there comes a point when you actually need to have some technical skills and experiential abilities.
That's right.
To get to places. But McLaren parlayed his involvement with the Pistols into an ongoing involvement with certain musical bands. He did some production. Now, I've never found anything that describes what his production is and how much more, inverted commas, production than say Andy Warhol. Right. But he was involved with
was in the room at the time, sort of
maybe, or said, that looks good, wear that. Adam and the Ants.
Oh really?
Yeah. Bow Wow Wow, both well charting bands in the late 70s in the UK. You might recall the song Buffalo Girls. But 3 Buffalo girls go round the outside, outside.
That's right.
Yeah, and he did that.
That was a single for him though, wasn't it?
It was, yes. And it was as Malcolm McLaren, but he didn't appear on it, which is well, actually he spoke over the top of people singing.
That's right. He's saying some of those words there.
Yeah.
And that was quite an interest. I saw this guy who was interviewing John Lydon, and he was a hip hop artist, and he was saying, oh yeah, I know the Malcolm McLaren song because we used to break dance to the Buffalo Girls. And John Lydon's sitting there going, I'm going to fucking kill you. Malcolm McLaren's a cock. I don't want to know anything about anything that he's done that's good. You know, it was kind of amusing.
But funnily enough, later on, a couple of years after that, into about 1984, he did a song called Madam Butterfly, which was a really interesting mix of jump cuts and a bit of rap music with Gilbert and Sullivan. And it was look it up.
We'll find it.
Really interesting. But that doesn't give him any credit as a musician. He was pretty ordinary. Malcolm McLaren and John Lydon are 180 degrees apart on their respective contributions to the Sex Pistols, and neither of them's got anything nice to say about the other, really. I don't think so. Lydon said to McLaren, in terms of don't damn me with faint praise, he said, look, he wasn't an out-and-out crook or a thief. I think there was a shrewdness on his part, like how adults tend to manipulate children. Hey. So it is very interesting the ongoing well, it's not ongoing anymore. McLaren died in 2010. So, and Lydon's still alive, living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Not doing very well. He's short of a quid, and that explains the recent lawsuit against the rest of the band who are making a show called Pistol, based on Steve Jones's biography.
And Steve Jones has got a radio show, I think, in the US, or a podcast, I'm not sure. And also Phil Cook has restarted the Professionals, the band, and
All right, good.
without Steve Jones,
Yeah. No.
just because
Time changes.
Well, Steve Jones didn't want to do it, basically. I mean, they yeah. Anyway, but yeah, and Lydon's wife is sick as well, apparently.
She's got Alzheimer's.
Oh, is that what it is?
Terrible fate for anyone. And to give Lydon his due, he hooked up with her soon after all of these events, and he's been with her all that time.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I really feel for him.
No, it doesn't sound good at all.
In that circumstance.
Yeah, not good at all.
The other great achievement by McLaren was to get the Sex Pistols to tour the USA.
Yeah, well, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because any fool could see that the USA was just hanging out for a bunch of disrespectful yobs who are playing fairly limited quality music.
But if you go to the major centres, you'd be fine, I would have thought.
I would have thought that too, yeah, because there's always going to be a market from people who have some musical sophistication.
And you can fill a 1,000-seat theatre and that sort of stuff just on the reputation that they bring with them alone, I would have thought.
Now, why would you want to do that when you could take them across the southern part of the USA, who are renowned for the respect that they show people and the sophistication of musical understanding?
They would love the Sex Pistols, wouldn't they?
They would, yeah.
Yep.
And they love them in total in total consistency with what we've just laid out there.
They'd love to beat the shit out of them, probably.
Fights were common. Vicious, despite not being able to play, was able to wield his bass as a weapon, and often did that with people who were right up close to the stage. He would often invite people to come and meet us out the back afterwards. Yeah,
Fantastic.
And you've seen photographs of Vicious. He couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
2-stone ring and wet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
particularly when you're on a fair bit of heroin.
Yeah, totally off his face, and the rest of the guys were, well, thanks very much, Sid. That's
Awesome.
That's pretty nice. Yeah,
So really none of them are particularly huge.
No. Well, exactly right. Rotten just couldn't stand that because look, Rotten was never into the punk thing.
Really?
That was McLaren.
Oh.
Yeah. Rotten was disrespectful, so maybe there was a crossover
Sure.
between his normal disrespectful attitudes and punk, but he never said, okay, let's make a punk band.
Ah.
Okay. So, but McLaren wanted that and perhaps just looked for the attitude and dragged him into, because clearly he could write, and he wrote some fairly good lyrics for the songs. Yeah,
no, they're interesting lyrics. Some of them are really good, I think, because they have a reasonably good poetic nature to them. Some of them are sometimes you sort of think sometimes, a bit like Glen Matlock, sometimes you think, gee, you could put a word in there that did rhyme a little bit, couldn't you, if you really wanted to?
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Here's a thesaurus. Have a look at that one.
But that goes back to Lydon's music history, what he loved. He liked Neil Young, who was okay for coming up with the odd rhyming couplet. But bands like Can, really jagged, jazz-influenced type of music. Who cares about whether the words rhyme or not? As long as they shock people. So Rotten quit the tour before it finished. Yeah, he said, right, I'm out of here. This is just stupid.
Right.
And he went off and formed another band, which arguably was even better than the Pistols, Public Image Limited. And Public Image Limited had some great songs. Yeah. They had Rise.
Fantastic.
The Order of Death, the one that goes, this is what you want, this is what you get.
Fantastic song.
Yeah, exactly right. So the same sort of attitudes that he was espousing in Sex Pistols, he did in Public Image Limited, with a much more musical background.
I can't imagine how he could be broke though. He must have blown his money somewhere along the line.
If you've got a sick wife. in the US medical system.
Could be.
Yeah.
But you'd pay. I don't know. Maybe you're going, I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, you think you'd have a couple of bob, wouldn't you?
You would think that, but look, when you look at his history, he wasn't really involved in a whole lot of insanely making money making activities. Even the tours by the Pistols. There were several tours after they split up, which didn't involve Sid Vicious, obviously because he died in New York. But the Jones, Cook, Matlock, and Lydon, he went in those reluctantly because he needed the money, clearly.
But I saw I was saying to you earlier, I was watching the one, the 40th anniversary tour obviously in 2007, and that's an awesome concert. It's at Brixton, and it's an awesome concert with. And the thing I really like about it is there's people of our age that were there, with some of them with the spiked hair, and there's young people. There's 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds, and there's black and there's white and there's Chinese, and Lydon actually really enjoys that. He said it's great to have everybody here, and we're for everybody, and it's equality and all that sort of stuff. And I really enjoyed it. The concert is an awesome concert. If you can find it on YouTube, I'll put a link to it. It is a great concert, and they just churn out the song. And the thing that I like about it is they're better musos than what they were back in the day. So musically, it's really good. Probably Lydon doesn't have the same energy he did when he was 30 years earlier, but 30 years earlier. But it's still it's a great concert, and if you get a chance, have a watch of it. It's really good, musically good.
I'm sure you can find that on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll put a link to it. There's a few different versions of it, but I found one that's got reasonably good quality. So it's sitting at around about. It's not 4K, but it's still pretty good quality. So I'll put a link to that one, and you can have a look at it. It's good, and it's got good sound as well. So
yeah, that's important because a lot of that stuff isn't.
No, that's right. And I found one that was like 360K, and I think that's a bit shit. But I think this might be up around 1,000K thereabouts. So that's a bit better.
Excellent.
Yes. Sorry, I go on to technology.
No, that's great because there's some people who listen to us, I'm sure, who understand all that stuff. Look, but with all of those tours, including the US tour, the ill-fated US tour, which they ended up having to play, putting up mesh screens over the front of the of the stage because people were throwing bottles at them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's a bit like Blues Brothers.
Well, a bit like that, yeah, in real life, and it's a bit like Spinal Tap emulated Black Sabbath.
Yes.
So, but he used to finish those concerts and finish the concerts on the Filthy Lucre tour, which was aptly named because it was just to make some money for the band members. You ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
Yeah, it's actually funny in that concert I was just talking about. He does manage to spit on them a little bit, just to. But I tell you what, I wouldn't like to be in any of those mosh pits down there. Even the one in 2000. No, it's a hardcore mosh pit. I can tell you that right here and now.
Can I talk one thing about the cover?
Yes, by all means. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Now we talk about how conservative the UK was in the mid-70s. And by gee, it was. And they had the Obscene Items Act. And because the word bollocks is supposed to be a swear word, a variant meaning testicles or nonsense or BS or whatever you like, the UK police, the London police, said that if you display the album cover in your shop, in the window, anywhere, that'll be an offence under the Obscene Articles Act, and they threatened to raid any stores that displayed the poster, and arrest, and in fact they did. They a record shop owner in Virgin Records in Nottingham, put the poster up because obviously it was Virgin Records, put their own poster up, and the police said, "All right, we're having you. You're nicked, mate." But
I realistically, that's that whole thing. They're being anti-establishment, and the establishment said, "Well, fuck you. We're going to make your life a misery." We're going to make it difficult for people to buy your music. We're going to hide you. We're going to make it as difficult as possible because you're naughty, basically. So we're going to find whatever we possibly can to shut you guys down.
Never one to miss an opportunity for self-promotion. Mr. Richard Branson happened to be the one who set up Virgin Records in the mid-70s. And he said, if any of our employees is arrested by the police, we will pay all of their legal costs. And in fact, for the fellow in Nottingham, they employed a QC to defend him in court.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and paid all the costs and got him off.
I'd like to see Branson take Johnny Lydon out into space. I mean, if you're going to be...
Play him some Pink Floyd.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. So you're locked in this little capsule now, mate. Here's a bit of Pink Floyd for you.
Yeah. And that publicity helped cement the Sex Pistols' reputation as the real deal. Yeah. As the leaders, the vanguard of the whole punk movement, even though they'd expired almost by then.
Yeah, but I was just, you can follow their timeline. They sort of, right up until now, they're still active in some way, shape or form as the Pistols even. They still have a record company, and all that sorts of things. So their music is still being sold. They're still producing, I think they produced that's 2012 it was, I was just looking. They produced a super deluxe version of the album. I mean, there's still only the same number of songs on the album, I think, but they're super deluxe.
Well, a bit like the Velvet Underground. The record companies have seen lots of opportunity to play on their notoriety, their history, and the fact that their notoriety has merged into a great deal of history and a great deal of appreciation of what they actually did. So strip away all the stupid headlines in the Murdoch press, and then come up with what they actually did. And we've talked about some of that musicality on the album, and it's just a fantastic album. So they've sold infinitely more albums than they did in the first place.
Just quick question about that movie that's coming out. Any idea when that's actually going to be hitting the theatres?
That I don't know. It's called Pistol.
Who's doing it?
It's a fellow by the name of Danny Boyle.
Oh, Danny Boyle.
Yeah, Danny Boyle.
I love Danny Boyle.
Oh, he's not just Johnny from up the block. He's actually
he did the Olympics in London.
Well, exactly right. And he did Slumdog Millionaire.
And what song was in the Olympics at London from Sex Pistols?
Was it?
Yeah, I
must say I'm not an Olympics connoisseur.
Oh, the opening ceremony of the Olympics at London was really, really good, actually. It's very impressive. But I just can't think of the song. I will. I'm going to look back and have a look what song it is. I think it was... Pretty Vacant.
Wow.
I think it's Pretty Vacant.
Excellent.
In the Olympics.
Excellent. I've seen some pictures from some stills from the movie, some initial promo shots, and they look very close to the Pistols. So visually, it's he's done a really good job in capturing it.
Yeah.
I know that Steve Jones was involved as an advisor.
Right.
Lydon didn't want anything to do with it and sued them to stop them making the show, which...
Well, because I saw him on English TV, and he's going, they didn't ask my permission, and I'm thinking they probably did, because you're not going to not ask him, are you?
Yeah, well, exactly right. There's a lot of speculation that they made the mistake of not offering him enough money.
Well, there's always that, isn't there?
Because he needs some money right at the moment.
Yeah. Train Spotting, that's the other one that Danny Boyle did.
Yes, of course, yes. He did 28 Days Later.
Oh, 28 Days Later where the zombies go fast.
Yes, yeah. That's really bad, isn't it?
My daughter decided she loved zombie movies when she was, I can't remember, she was 14 or something like that. So I watched all the 28-day movies and all the zombie movies. It was fantastic. But, so Danny Boyle is great. He also did Sunshine, which is the science fiction movie. And I remember listening to him on the radio program Take That, which Tony Martin used. Tony Martin was a big Danny Boyle fan.
Yep.
And they were talking about, should there be, in space, there is no sound. But in movies about space, rockets always have to have sound, even though there is none. So if you watch a space movie, when the rockets leave, they always make a sound. But there is no sound in space.
Yeah. Except in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where the only sound was the Blue Danube.
True. But nowadays, and even if they're going into light speed, they always go,
Oh, yeah.
all those sorts of things. So they always have sound. So I assume they sort of say, oh, well, it's from the inside of the cabin, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, it's
Maybe inside.
But there was a great conversation of intake that about with Danny Boyle about the sound of that things make in space, even though there is no sound. Because there's no sound.
Excellent. There's a conversation that can't really go anywhere, isn't it?
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Well, one other thing about a movie about the Sex Pistols is this has been proposed. A movie about the Pistols has been proposed for a lot of years, and McLaren actually proposed such a movie as well. And to be fair to Johnny Lydon, he said no all the way through. He said no, we don't want to do it. We don't want to cheapen and trivialise what we do. But you know what he did suggest? He said if you're going to do it, the person we would want to direct it would be Graham Chapman from Monty Python.
That's interesting. Yeah. That is interesting.
Yeah, so he seems to be opposed to it on principle rather than on any other reason.
Which is going to be interesting because this year or maybe early next year, I'm assuming that movie's going to come out, as will the Beatles movie come out as well.
Yes,
where they're basically redoing Let It Be. Because the guy who originally made Let It Be shot 1,000 hours worth of movie, and it disappeared. No one knew where it was, and they found basically the 998 hours of movie, and they've been restoring them all to turn into a new Let It Be movie. So it'll be interesting to see the Sex Pistols and the Beatles movie in a back-to-back session.
Yeah.
You'd be throwing the popcorn in the air in the first one and sort of being nice and gentle in the second one. So it's be good fun.
Well, I wonder, Peter Jackson's doing the Beatles one, so I wonder if there'll be any orcs, dwarves.
He's doing it in New Zealand as well, just out of interest.
That's fantastic, yeah. Shoot from the mountains. It's all good stuff.
Once again, if you go on YouTube and have a look at, he's put a preview up there of some of the stuff. And the thing that I find interesting with that movie is the quality is just insane. It is insane quality. He's restored the footage magnificently. Anyway, so we both look forward to seeing. I think we might have to go together and hold hands at the back of the cinema, mate. We'll watch.
We can just get one little bag of popcorn and share it.
And some Jaffas.
Roll. Well, they're all carpeted, so what's the point in rolling them down the aisle?
We won't roll. We're going to chuck them at the screen, mate.
Yes, that's right. Like I recall someone throwing a Jaffa at Bob Dylan during concert for Bangladesh.
Is that right? I remember that.
Long time ago.
It is a long time ago. Very interesting concert. Nothing like a good whole side of Ravi Shankar. Yeah. All right, folks. We're going to probably wrap it up now. We think we've done our bit for the Sex Pistols. So thanks for listening, everybody, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. Give us some comments too if you get round to it. iTunes, wherever you like. You'll find us on iTunes. You'll find us on Spotify. You'll find us all over those sorts of places. So if you get a chance, leave us a comment. Give us a 5-star if you don't mind. Send us an email too if you don't mind. Give us some idea about what you'd like to see us do in the future, about how we're going at the moment. That's mickandthephatman@gmail.com. Send an abusive email to Mick. I think that's always good. I send one once a week just to keep him instead. And I think we might call it quits. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk next time. Bye now.